Hey, Eric.
Hey, John, how's it going?
Are you surviving the apocalypse?
Yeah, I dyed my hair purple.
What?
Daughter number two was, she's the extrovert in the house, and so she's having the roughest time with this. And so she wants to cut her hair, dye her hair, so she dyed her hair and then begged me, or put streaks in it of pink, and then begged me, Dad, I'm gonna do your hair purple, because she knows I like the color purple. And I'm sitting here going, well, it's about time for a haircut. Why not? Who's gonna see me for
What's
the next
the harm?
month? Yeah, so I now have purple hair. It's not a big thing. Well, there are photos. You can go look at the podcast of the photo, and I tweeted out a couple pictures. And anyways,
so I actually do remember seeing the pictures on Twitter, because I remember thinking, hey, he's wearing a Snick shirt, and it's purple.
Of course, you didn't notice anything else, just the shirt. Well, because my daughter also said, well, Dad, I'm not very good. So wear a purple shirt so that if I spill on it, some of the dye, it's a goo that you rub into your hair. If I spill any on it, you won't be too mad. So I'm like, fine. I pulled out an old t-shirt, and it would happen to be a purple t-shirt, and it did get spilled on, and you can't really tell.
Okay, color matching. That works.
Yeah.
That works. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's brave. That's brave of you.
That was my excitement with daughter number two. And then there was more planes, trains, and automobiles excitement with daughter number one. So she's away at college, about 800 miles away in Utah.
Yeah.
And they've canceled school. It's all online school, and it's all remote learning. And her job, fortunately for her job, she can do remotely as well. So she was sitting in her apartment, and she was debating, do I come home? But all my friends are here. Do I want to stay here? And then Utah had an earthquake last Tuesday. And she got up Wednesday and said, yeah, I'm ready to come home. So
didn't wait for that fire and flood.
No. And so I had told her, because she's nervous about driving 800 miles by herself. So I told her, oh, no big deal. I will just get a one-way plane ticket, and I'll come pick you up.
Yeah, you will. Sure you will.
Plenty of plane tickets, right?
I have seen a lot of $39 fares in my in my email.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got a plane ticket, and it was an extra $30 for a first class ticket. And so I thought, well, I'll get a first class ticket. And I looked, and there's nobody in first class. It's me and one other person in the entire first class when I'm, and this is less than 24 hours before I'm supposed to leave buying the ticket. So I thought, I'll do that. No big deal. Extra $30. That way, if there happen to be any problem, first class people get first priority, etc., whatever. So first world problems. So my wife takes me to the airport. So this is the evening of Wednesday evening. I'm getting the plane ticket, and then Thursday morning at 8 a.m. I have the flight. So my wife takes me to the airport. I get out of the car, get through security, and as I'm beeping through security, my flight moves from on time to canceled.
Oh.
I'm like, crap. Because the idea was I would fly out early in the morning, and we would drive the 12 plus hours in one straight shot. That way we wouldn't have to stay at a hotel or anything like that.
Right.
So my flight's delayed. So I go see, well, how can I get rebooked? So I go to the desk, and they have a flight through Seattle that's only an hour later. Gets me there 2 hours later because I have to sit in Seattle for 45 minutes. I'm like, all right. So I rebooked that one. And not 5 minutes after I rebooked that one, I look down, and the Seattle to Salt Lake connection is now delayed with no additional info. I mean, it was on time, now it's delayed. So I was okay. So I went back to the desk and I said, look, I don't want to sit in Seattle. On the off chance, I can't go and just sit in Seattle.
Right.
So is there any other flights direct? And there was a later in the afternoon flight, like not until, so this is 8 a.m. and I'm wandering around at, 7 in the morning trying to get this figured out. And there was another one like at 2 p.m., which wouldn't get me to Salt Lake till 5:30, 6 o'clock, which means we wouldn't even start headed home until, 6:30, 7.
Right. You're definitely not making it home. And would that flight even make it?
Exactly.
You're already 0 for 2.
Exactly. So then I call daughter number 1 and I say, would you be willing to drive to Boise? Because now I'm thinking I could get a rental car one way and drive to Boise and meet her there, and then we could drive around. And she said, yeah, I think I can do that. So that's the new plan. And I go back to the desk to say, all right, can you just cancel the flight? And they say, nope, we can't cancel flights here. You have to do that online, or you have to do that on the phone, because it was within 24 hours, so I couldn't do it online anymore. So you have to do it on the phone. And I'm like, I don't want to sit on the phone forever. So I go down to the rental car counter. I get a car, one-way drive from...
So did you call while you were in the car driving?
Yeah. So actually, I'll get to that. That's actually a good story. So I get to the rental car counter and I get the car and I start driving, and I got a nicer car. It was still less than the airplane, the one-way ticket airplane, but a decent car, a nice car. Nissan Altima, like brand new Nissan Altima, had like 1,000 miles on it. And I discovered that adaptive cruise control is the thing. I love adaptive cruise control. That's where it's not lane changing, but if it comes up on a car in front of you while it's cruising at 70 miles an hour, it will slow down to that car's speed. And then you can move out of the lane and pass it, and then it'll readjust. So you don't... Anyways, I'm a fan of adaptive cruise control. So anyways, I'm calling up on the phone, figuring I'll just sit on the phone because it had CarPlay. So I'll just sit on the phone and wait, hopefully, before my flight leaves in 6 hours, 5 hours at this time. By this time, that I can cancel it and get my money back.
Or at least get a credit for a future flight.
Yes, and that's exactly what happened. But after about 10 minutes on hold, a message came up and said, "Hey, we are now introducing text messaging service. Would you like to swap to a text message service?" I'm like, what the heck? So I do that, and I get a text message saying, please text us your issue. And I say cancel, and I text the letters, the flight, whatever the flight number is, or flight.
Sure, the code.
Oh, yeah, whatever that 6-digit code is. I text that flight, say, I need to cancel. I get a response back in about 5 minutes saying, do you need to, I see you need to cancel this flight. Would you like to credit that to your account, or there was some, email you a coupon code? I'm like, just credit it to my account. And it was done, which was awesome.
Perfect.
It was like within, 5 minutes. So not on hold for 3 hours. It was, a 5-minute text conversation with me trying to get Siri to understand my letters as I spoke.
Oh, because you're trying to say it in the car.
Yes, because I'm still on 84 headed towards Boise.
Sure.
Right. So that was great. 7-hour drive. Listened to a lot of podcasts. Got a lot of podcasts listening in. That was great.
That's awesome.
Got to Boise right about the same time. Daughter number 1 got to Boise. We went to a restaurant because we were both starving by this point, because I didn't eat breakfast, or I think I ran through a drive-through for lunch, just grabbed something really quick. So we went to Outback Steakhouse. There's nobody in Outback Steakhouse in Boise. The entire dining area, there's no one there. There's a handful of people in the bar side, the open seating side. So we sat, had the entire dining area to ourselves, had a nice dinner, and then hopped in her car and drove another 7 hours home. It was a very long day for me.
That
and went to sleep.
that is a very long day. Well, it's a long day for both of you. That's a lot of driving.
It was. Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
So
how was your week?
I did not have that kind of craziness. I'll tell you that. I did not. So no, the irony is, well, actually you're supposed to be on PTO this week too for spring break. You were going to go on college tours, but I decided to keep my PTO since my boys are, they're out of school for who knows how long, but they will have to go back and figure out the online school starting next week. But
right.
So this week is still technically spring break, and so I had planned to take it off, and I had planned to go somewhere, but that clearly is not happening. But anyway, I figured I've always got a fistful of projects, and I figured I'll keep it, and we'll have a nice week together. And seriously, we're fine on the on the homestead. My main problem, and this is kind of ridiculous, but I don't know how to do a project without going to Lowe's a couple of times. Like seriously, I started a couple projects, and I'm like, well, okay. So I decided my strategy was going to be, well, I'll just do something until I'm blocked, and then I'll put it on a list, and then I'll do something else until I'm blocked. And so I'm kind of multi-threading a little bit in that way. But I also did we're being good. We're trying to be super good, but we're being good. But none of us are 6. We are doing the whole social distancing. We're practicing it fine. We haven't seen hide nor hair of pretty much any of our friends or family other than through FaceTime for who knows how long, and everything's canceled. But we still have had to go, and this is also kind of the face of irony. We've had to go to the feed store for animals more than the grocery store for us, which probably tells you something. But anyway, so that's fine. I've been working on trying to finish off the project that I started, and I'm not going to finish it off this week, but last Christmas for the tack room out in the barn. So I have all the walls up now. I have insulation in 2 of the walls, and I'm working on the wiring. So anyway.
There you go.
I think I have everything that I need. But I have a list. So that's cool. And then I've been doing lots and lots of other stuff. So that's I'm keeping myself busy, and it's fun. And one of the things that the kids have been doing have been they're both in music, right? And so they're doing Zoom, FaceTime, or Skype for their music lessons, which has been kind of cool, and including joining in on some group lessons. There's tons of celebrities and other non-celebrities doing live streaming items that kind of lets you participate in things that you might not have been able to do otherwise. So my wife and my younger boy have been doing some group things with one of the professors from the college here. That's kind of cool. So anyway,
everybody figuring out how to do the remote socialization.
Gosh. Yeah, I had the funniest text from a friend of mine though tonight. I'll have to I don't think he'd mind if I read something like this, but you'd crack. So he's kind of like you, has two girls, and they're both in college though, and
purple hair.
I don't think he has purple hair. No, so you got that up on him. But anyway, no, he says yeah, gone from an empty nest to a full nest, but happy to have everybody back. But then the other thing he said was that his wife actually works at the community college, and so she's responsible for trying to figure out how to run the classes remotely over for the course of the
Ooh.
next semester, basically, or who knows how long. But
Right.
it's a community college, and so a lot of the things are like shop type things. So welding, shipbuilding, construction, and the exact quote is with well, I won't say the exact quote, but basically with guys that hate computers, don't know how to check their own email, so let alone teach online. So I'm like, yeah. Whereas, I don't know, in the software business and in even more specifically the security software business, working remotely is kind of a fact of life. So, in fact, I threw a quote in our notes. I wasn't sure if I was going to say it, but maybe I was. But I had somebody at work tell me today, or no, it was yesterday, you are ridiculously terrible at PTO. And because
I resemble that comment.
I have taken at least one meeting every day. And sure. Yeah. And my wife is like, are you taking the day off? I'm like, well, yeah, mostly. but I mean, like this morning, it was at 6:30. I was awake. It's good. What? I'm fine.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? So anyway, that's fun. So, and one other little minor segment in here, I might wind up cutting this part out, but I think I'm going to lose one of my colonies of bees. I got in there on Sunday.
Is it the one that wasn't eating and then started eating, or is it a different one?
Well, yeah, it's my week one that I've had to baby along, and I did not see any eggs in there last week. I got into it again on Sunday. I did not see any eggs, which basically means no queen. I mean, I didn't look at every single frame, but I got it in both boxes, and I mean, not a single egg. Right. So, I took 2 frames of eggs from one of my colonies that's booming, and then and gave it to them, because bees will make a queen. I mean, if they are queenless, they'll try and make a queen. So, right. I have until tomorrow. I read. I'm an expert because I read online. I read. I
saw a YouTube video.
I did. Oh, I've seen so many YouTube videos. I read that I should wait 3 to 4 days to let them start and then check it and see if they're making a queen cell. So tomorrow will be 4 days. So I figured, and tomorrow's supposed to be a good weather day. So I figure I'll go in tomorrow and see if they're making a queen cell. And I don't know, but I feel like that one's going to be a low probability of success. But we will just see. We should probably actually get to the security part of the Mostly Security podcast.
Well, I threw in 2 items of follow-up. That'll be quick follow-up.
Okay.
So we had talked a few episodes back about some of the new releases for Chrome and the Chrome browser and Chrome OS coming forward. Stuff. And yeah, new stuff coming with Chrome. And Google, there's an article about Google pausing Chrome OS releases because of the coronavirus work schedules. Probably a good thing to slow your schedules, especially when it's an important a product as Chrome is.
Yeah. I mean, what's the harm?
Yeah. So some of the forthcoming restrictions that we had talked about may not hit the dates we talked about.
Same site.
Right.
Yeah.
So some of those things will be pushed out. And then the other one, last week you had mentioned about all the domain names being registered. The domain registrar Namecheap is no longer accepting any new domain applications that use the words coronavirus, COVID, COVID-19, vaccine, or any other versions of words and phrases alluding to the COVID-19 pandemic. So if you are a legitimate company, if you are a legitimate company, you can call them up and they will manually do it for you after they verify that you're legitimate. So those are the 2 follow-up items that I threw in this week.
Yeah. Okay. I actually hadn't seen the Namecheap thing, but that makes me happy. I had seen some other stuff about just how many domains are being registered. It's crazy. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. All right. Cool. The other thing that I did not put the link in here yet, but that I do want to mention kind of in the follow-up is kind of related to coronavirus is, did you see the article that has the grades by county of how well people are staying in place?
No, but my wife told me that Oregon is the fifth worst or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So I just looked it up, and it is a Washington
smartphone data.
It is a Washington Post article, and it is. I thought the way they did this was clever. So basically, they took So we've talked over and over again about how much you're being tracked on with your cell phone and GPS location, right? Every time you use any service that it sends the location of where you are when you do it, that's being tracked. So so what they did was that they took the GPS data and launched a social distancing scoreboard that grades county by county, I'm quoting here, which residents are changing behavior at the urging of health officials. So it uses the reduction in total distance traveled as a rough index for whether we're staying at home. So basically they took the movements from March 20th, which was, last Friday, and compared that to an average Friday from before. So if they said exactly what data they used to do an average Friday, I didn't see it. But I thought that was pretty tricky. And so they graded it. They graded it for every county in the state or in the country.
Huh.
So
that
I thought this was I thought this was cool. So the scoreboard, I'm not sure. Maybe we should put the scoreboard in here or the Washington Post article. I'm not sure. But
I would do the scoreboard.
Okay, I will.
Because now I'm clicking on the scoreboard because now I want to actually look at Oregon.
So bottom 5 states, Oregon gets a C. Yeah.
This must be what my wife had read. Bottom 5 state. Yeah.
Although, interestingly, if you click in, wow. Yeah. If you click in, do you see? Did you look at the counties? Portland, and the the Willamette Valley's green,
right?
Pretty green, but a lot of the rest of the county is.
Well, I also wonder if it's by distance traveled. When you live out in rural, you're going to travel and you won't see anybody. So I wonder if there's some bias to their data here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to read a little more about how they're calculating it. If they're calculating a difference or a delta from which is what they intimate, right? Minus 25% change. So, I would still think that even out in the sticks, if you are even doing any sort to limit what you're doing for, seeing other people going to the store, etc., I would expect to see a delta. But anyway, I just thought that this was an interesting tie-in to things that we've talked about before. And you're being tracked. I'm being tracked. We're all being tracked.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you probably can use this for good, but it's still not good that you can do this.
Well, I saw related articles to this. I wasn't really going to bring them up, but since we're here already, let's see. I saw related articles to this about how in some of the other countries they had different means of tracking people for whether they were staying at home. So, like, in some country you'd get a random text message, and you had to reply to it within 5 minutes or something like that. But then your reply has your location in it, and so they know that you're at home,
right?
And things like that. So, yeah,
that's fascinating.
It's interesting. Yeah, these guys, Unicast, whoever this is, I'm sure they're a data aggregator of some sort, threw this together pretty fast.
Not too shabby.
So
I'm going to assume they probably had this data already.
Yeah, no, I'm sure somebody had the bright idea of, well, why don't we calculate the,
right.
delta? And it's tricky. So, all right. Oh yeah, sorry. One other thing. Like your rural thing can't really hold water if Alaska has an A. I'm just going to say that.
Well, that's because they're all stuck in ice right now.
Oh, bite me. No. All right. Let's get into topics. What do you got for me this week?
All right. So I have two topics, two articles all around Zoom. We talked about Zoom a while ago because they had the bright idea about launching a web server on your Mac and then accidentally leaving that web server running after you uninstalled their client, which they fixed. To their credit, they fixed quickly. Well, there is, with the advent of everybody staying at home and doing this social distancing, and a lot of universities doing online and schools doing online classes or doing remote work for people at work. For example, like my daughter, number one, her university got Zoom licenses for all students, Zoom enterprise licenses for all students, and that's how they're doing school for the rest of this semester and for spring term.
Wow.
So she is learning all about Zoom, and there have also been a lot of, as you had mentioned, alluded to earlier as well, people doing online open events using different tools, and one of them is Zoom. And we now have a new word to add to our lexicon: Zoombombing.
Zoombombing, I see it.
Yes, because people apparently are still horrible, and this is why we can't have nice things. So what Zoombombing is people who go find open Zoom conferences that people set up for whatever, and then use features in Zoom to disrupt the meeting.
Use your imagination,
share
I guess.
Porn, etc. Yeah, do all those things. And so part of that is, from Zoom's perspective, and this is kind of their their statement from their communications, from the Zoom video communications spokesperson, is with all this Zoom bombing, people doing horrible things in these open things, is we have been deeply upset to hear about incidents involving this type of attack. For those hosting large public group meetings, we strongly encourage hosts to change their settings so that only they can share their screen. For those hosting private meetings, password protections are on by default, and we recommend that users keep those protections on to prevent uninvited users from joining. I think this also will help inform Zoom on what their defaults ought to be for public group meetings as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's similar to the web app, not web app, WhatsApp. The group links that I mentioned a couple weeks ago. If you have an open link to a meeting.
Yeah, we have an open invite to our mostly security Slack.
This is true. Nobody's Slack bombed us yet.
Nope. And then my second article is actually a conversation that I had with daughter number one. It's around Zoom's privacy policy and their privacy features. Apparently, and I wonder how many students know this, but Zoom has an option called the attendee attention tracking feature. So what this does is it alerts the host, or if it's a classroom, it will alert the teacher anytime someone does not have the Zoom desktop client or mobile app in focus for more than 30 seconds, right? So if you're on a Zoom call and you click away, the host is going to be notified, little Bobby is not paying attention, right? Even if you're, putting Zoom on the side or minimizing it so you can take notes or respond to questions or however things are going. So it's just a heads up. And I had that conversation with daughter number one, and one of the ways that we had discussed to get around that was she's got a phone and a laptop. Put Zoom on one and do her chatting with her friends or whatever else she would do on the other.
Right.
So there's that half. And then the other bit of information in here is depending on how you sign into Zoom, Zoom collects a whole bunch of data on you, your name, address, email address, phone number, where you're from. Even if you don't make an account with them or keep an account with them, if you sign in with Facebook, it slurps in your Facebook profile information and has access, of course, to any information you upload, provide, or create while using the service. So if you're using the chat window, Zoom has access to that. Now, there's no implication here that they're doing anything bad with that. Their privacy policy says something along the lines of, do you sell the data? The answer is, well, it depends on what you mean by the word sell. And okay.
Oh.
So anyways, for all those of you who are new to remote work or doing new things at home and using Zoom seems to be the shining,
the darling at the moment.
Thank you, the darling at the moment. But just be aware that there are things that are going on that you probably would want to be aware of if you are planning on hosting a Zoom meeting with the neighborhood at some point. Just a heads up on making sure you put the proper protections in place.
Yeah. They must have a pretty good architecture because they must have had to scale by a couple I don't know about orders of magnitude, but by a significant amount in the course of the last couple of weeks. Like a significant amount. So, I wonder if they've got any architecture posts of what they do. But yeah, I imagine there's been a lot of software developers and sysadmins and DevOps people working around the clock to kind of get everything up and going and try and keep everything up and running, because it's been pretty impressive how well things have stayed running as far as I can tell.
Yeah, especially when a university of 30,000+ students plus professors are now using you, and that's just one. That's the one that I know of.
That's just one. Yeah, that's not the only. That's not the only one.
Yeah. So, anyways,
who's the real winner out of that?
Okay. AWS. Zoom shareholders. Oh, probably.
And Azure maybe, and maybe some GCP. Yeah, I don't know.
Whomever is their backbone. Yeah.
Yeah. Just selling picks to the miners. Just selling some jeans and shovels. You go get them, boys. Go find that gold. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, that's good data. Yeah. How do we not have? Do I have anything that's not Corona related? I do. I have my second one. My second topic is not Corona directly related. So I have two topics. The first is actually about this like slays me. HHS, so Health and Human Services Open Redirect, which was being used by phishing, coronavirus phishing emails to spread malware. So this is a link on Bleeping Computer, but the Health and Human Services is a government agency that is kind of at the front and center of the particular episode at the moment. And, and they are a quote unquote trustworthy, site. But I guess maybe I should define what a open redirect is. But, basically an open redirect is something where in the URL itself, so you actually go to, like in this case, a hhs.gov website, but in the parameters or in the call them arguments that are being passed to the website is another URL to go to. So this is used a lot for places where, so let's say you go to a web page and you haven't logged in yet. And so they redirect you to the login page, right? Mm-hmm. Well, oftentimes what happens when you get redirected to the login page is that the login page could be sent to the login page from a whole bunch of places. And so the login will take an argument that basically says, well, where'd you come from? So I can send you back there. Right. And so what an open redirect is it's a service, a part of some web app somewhere that takes as an argument, where are you coming from? So I can send you back there. But an open redirect is one that has no protections on it and will basically send you anywhere else. So in this case, the site that, if you were practicing good hygiene, you're checking the site for where, in your email before you click on it. And you're like, oh, that's really a HHS site. It sure is. But way off on the right-hand side there, and possibly encoded, is the real URL that HHS Open Redirect is going to actually send you to. And that can be a document to download. It can be a site that's running a 0-day on, a particular browser, or, some other nefarious purposes. So in this particular case, the attackers used it to send people to a malicious attachment that basically unpacked a Visual Basic script and downloaded an information stealer. So it's Raccoon was the code name, or the name of this particular example, which is
apropos.
Say that again.
Apropos. Raccoon stealer.
Raccoon.
Sorry.
I hadn't actually put that together. Yes. Oh, very nice. Yes, the little bandits. Anyway, so this says that Raccoon is capable of digging its way into about 60 different applications for things like credentials, wallet info for cryptocurrency wallets, different browser data, information, system information, credit cards, etc. The irony, really ironic part of this is that the malicious server that was quoted in the article, at least, was taken down. But at least as of the time the article was written, which was a couple of days ago, and I did not go check this myself, the government one was not. So I get it. Government's kind of busy right now. Government doesn't move fast on the best of times, but this is the sort of thing that once notified, I would expect to be down in order of minutes, not order of days. So the exact quote out of the article was that the server used to previously deliver the malicious payload has since been taken down, although it will probably be replaced with a new one very soon. And then Bleeping Computer has also been told that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has been notified of the redirect, and it will hopefully be taken offline soon. Well,
we can all hope.
Yes, we can all hope. So, okay, my second one, the one that is not Corona related at all, is a unpatched 0-day bug in Windows. So,
woohoo!
Yep. It's a perpetual motion machine. Interesting. So this says this was Microsoft released an advisory, although they do not have a patch out. So it is a critical flaw, which is the highest severity it can be, and the article I saw was to TechCrunch, but they linked to the actual Microsoft article as well, or the Microsoft advisory. So it is in the font library. So it says 2 remote code execution vulnerabilities exist in Microsoft Windows when the Windows Adobe Type Manager library improperly handles a specially crafted multi-master font.
How do people find these? Who's sitting there going, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to craft a funky looking font and see what I can do.
Well, I bet you a lot of it's fuzzing these days.
Yeah.
There's the fuzzers are pretty good, and you
fuzz all the things.
Fuzz all the things. Try and get a crash, and then figure out where you crashed, and then figure out how to crash it deliberately and with forethought. So anyway, I don't know. I don't know for this particular thing or who found it, whether it was disclosed to them. Actually, no, the article actually said that it was in limited use in the wild. So they have seen attacks in the wild. But the other thing that I thought was interesting was that there are multiple ways an attacker could exploit the vulnerability, such as convincing a user to open a specially crafted document, aka my previous topic, or viewing it in the Windows preview pane. Remember? We talked about another vulnerability for Windows preview. At some point, if I can dig it up, I'll throw the link in here. But the problem with previews, anything that can be triggered in preview means that you can trigger the vulnerability without ever actually opening the document, right? Just by navigating to the folder in which it's in. If that document is even selected, the preview will show up on the right-hand side. And for known document types, Windows and OS 10 or Mac OS are smart enough to say, oh, I see, this is a Word document, or this is a text document, or this is an image. Let me show you a preview of it off to the right-hand side.
Let me basically open it for you without opening it.
Yeah. You look like you don't look like you want to double click. Let me open it for you. So
let me help you out.
But when the rendering is, or whatever the vulnerable rendering is in the system, the OS, then of course it can be triggered by that. If it's an application vulnerability, obviously you might not be loading the actual application. But in the case of Windows, like for Word and stuff like that, I think that they do use a lot of the same underlying rendering libraries. Anyway, pop the stack here. But the other thing that I wanted to say about this one is that I thought that, so two things, I guess. The first is that later versions of Windows 10 aren't as vulnerable. They have a different DLL, evidently, because one of the mitigations, there are 3 mitigations that Microsoft talked about, because they don't have a patch out for it, and they said in the advisory that the patch is likely to be in the next Patch Tuesday, which isn't until April, that there are a couple of workarounds. One of which was disabling the preview pane. The second of which is disable the web client service. So they mentioned specifically WebDAV, which means, to my mind at least, and I don't know exactly what the web client service in Windows does, but that would tell me that there's probably a way to trigger it remotely. If there's some rendering that's triggered from a remote site. And then the third workaround, and I got the feeling that these are you do all 3 of these things to reduce the surface area, is to rename atmfd.dll, which is presumably the Adobe Type Manager. I don't know what FD stands for. Font display, maybe. I don't know. ATMFD. So if you rename that to something else, then there was a comment in the Windows advisory that in some cases there might be side effects, usability side effects, which I can imagine that there might be, but that was my other kind of quote unquote real vulnerability or real thing I saw this week.
Yeah, I think renaming DLLs would probably imply side effects. Unfortunate side effects.
I guess it's presumably optional, and they're relying on their failback code if they're unable to load it. I don't know. I don't know how that works in the internals there, but there's another code path that probably wasn't tested as well as the other one. We'll see. All right, dude. How about something fun?
All right. Well, I have 3.
Oh my. Okay. This is the mostly not security episode of the Mostly Security podcast.
Just wait till the after show.
Okay.
So my first, we actually discussed this on our Teams chat at work about, I had asked the team, because my middle daughter in high school for her global politics class had to do an article of international importance. And this was this is a couple weeks ago, right as the coronavirus stuff was all really coming to a head. And she was working on it, and she said all the articles that everybody gets that are international are depressing. I want one that's happy. And so I asked our team, what's a happy thing that's not coronavirus related? And I got a happy coronavirus related one, which was the air quality in China is significantly better by significantly, orders of magnitude almost better. Drops in, what was it? NO2. What's the
nitrous oxide?
Anyways, yeah, the drops in the bad things in the air. And so the fun part about this is it's an NPR article, and just how air quality can change dramatically in a short period of time. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That is really cool. And it's, it's really encouraging. It should be encouraging that it's not impossible for us to make a difference.
Exactly. And then my second article is, if you are like my kids and pay a lot of attention to TikTok and Instagram, there have been a lot of coronavirus fake happy stories that are unfortunately fake happy stories, but I mean they're fun stories. So one of the most recent, most popular ones was I'll just read really quick here. It's scattered amid a relentless barrage of news about COVID-19 case surges, quarantine orders, and medical supply shortages on Twitter this week. Some happy stories softened the blows. Swans had returned to the deserted Venetian canals, dolphins as well, and a group of elephants had sauntered through a village in Yunnan, China, gotten drunk off corn wine, and passed out in a tea garden. The only problem is these kind of feel-good stories aren't real.
Bummer.
Swans regularly appear in the canals in a small part of the greater Venice metropolitan area, which is where those photos were taken that got shared on social media. The dolphins were actually in Sardinia, which is 100 miles away, and there were no... a Chinese news report debunked the drunken elephant photos. So while I think it's fun to see those kind of stories, they kind of make you, they're uplifting. It can have the opposite effect when you find out that they're fake. So just be aware that fun things can be fake too.
Yeah, that is a bummer. But the air quality one, as far as we can tell, reliable news source.
Yep,
has real data. Yeah, not fake swans.
Yes, no. And then my final one is actually just a cartoon, which I thought was great. I found the actual source of it. I saw it running around social media, and I hunted down the actual source. We'll post the actual source in the show notes. But Where's Waldo, right? You remember all those books, and you try to find Where's Waldo?
I do.
This is a picture. It's just a one-panel newspaper. Where's Waldo Social Distancing Edition? You can guess what it looks like. It's
not
great.
A crowd of people.
No. It's Waldo kind of by himself, at least 6 feet. It looks like he's probably closer to 10 to 15 feet from all the other people around. So, who are also an equal distance from each other as well.
They are also practicing social distancing.
They are all practicing social distancing. I thought that was fun.
Oh, that's fantastic.
All right.
Yeah, I like that one.
So, John, tell me about your 3D printer.
Well, if you'd followed me on Twitter for the last week, you've seen some of the stuff that I've been doing. Yeah. So have I mentioned it on the podcast? I don't think I have I?
I think you did mention you were thinking about getting a printer.
Okay. Yeah. Well, basically, this week is my birthday. And
happy birthday.
Thank you. And when I heard the news that my boys were basically, they were going to cancel school. And I knew that we were going to cancel our spring break plans. I decided that I should buy myself a birthday present, and that we could, it could be one of the things that we did this week. And so I did. I bought a Anycubic Photon. So the thing is, I've many of my friends have had 3D printers, including you, for years, right? Like years and years and years and years. Like, I'm trying to remember.
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh, probably 2010. So probably 10 years. I'm thinking of where I was when one of our friends got his first 3D printer, and I have always appreciated the engineering of them, but I've always felt that the quality of the prints that you get off have like been okay, nothing that you would, it's cool that you could do it. It's cool that you can do some little knickknacks here and there. And I mean, heck, my microphone boom is sitting on something that you 3D printed for me. So I know that there are some practical uses, but I was still looking for something a little better. And the resin print qualities that I was starting to see online were crazy, I thought. And the prices were getting into the, place where I could reasonably think, I'll do this. Because I know myself. I know that it'll, I will have a flurry of a few weeks or a few months of activity, and then it'll sit here for weeks on end without going anywhere. And then we'll do some more stuff, and it'll, it's fine. But we'll learn something. Right. And I hope that, it's educational. This is some arguments to myself a little bit. But so I finally decided that I would get the resin printer that is, because it's fantastic. The resolution is fantastic. It's amazing how small these are printing. So I got the Anycubic Photon S off of just off Amazon, and a bunch of other kind of gobbledygook to go with it, because the thing with the resin printers is that the resin is toxic. So you have to wear gloves, which is kind of a fit of irony. You can't really buy gloves at the moment. Although I had gotten a couple of boxes before, kind of in preparation. So, whatever. They're just Harbor Freight,
right.
Gloves. But so the resin, but basically the way these work, which is really cool, is you have a pool of, basically a bathtub of resin on top of a clear film so that the resin doesn't leak down, but that underneath there's a UV LCD screen that since it's a LCD, and it's basically a big phone or a small tablet screen. So it's like, 1440 resolution ish on the long axis. And it basically, there's a build plate above it, and the build plate is on a set of rails. So it pushes down into the resin until it's, got whatever the thickness is above the bottom of the vat. And then the LED turns on and cures that level of resin. And then the build plate moves up a few millimeters and then back down, but not quite all the way down, basically to whatever the build delta is. And then the LED flashes on the next pattern, and that area cures, and then it raises, and so it basically goes up and down, curing for every layer of the build for many hours. I think the longest print that I've done so far is 7 or 8 hours. But the prints are fantastic when they come out. So I am still having troubles getting my things to produce reliably. But I've been trying a bunch of different settings, and I've currently put a pause on it because I want to I've got something coming from Amazon that will supposedly help keep the cured resin from sticking to the plastic at the bottom of the tray. Basically, because that's the problem. That's the problem I've been having, at least, is that a lot of the builds aren't actually sticking to the build plate, and so when it raises up, the cured bit is kind of stuck between the clear laminate below, FEP, I think it is, and the build plate. And if it cracks off the build plate, well, then it just sits in the bath, and then it basically builds this whole pool of whatever area is exposed for whatever the shape is. But it has been a lot of fun, and we have printed a few very cool things that are awesome, and I can't wait to really get it dialed in. It's not really dialed in yet, but I've had a lot of fun with it this week, and it is super cool. So I have tweeted a bunch of pictures. The resolution's crazy.
I look forward to being able to see these things in person once our little pandemic has subsided.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool. I also am still waiting for my new 3D printer.
Yeah, but you got months to wait, don't you?
It was June, but it was June before this whole pandemic thing hit. So I don't know I haven't looked to see if those dates are still the same or if there's any delays in there. So, we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't need one in a hurry. I'm not in a hurry. I'm good.
All right. Well, if you need anything printed out in the meantime, I'm willing to give it a shot.
I still have my old printer, but I may look at a few things that I may take you up on that one.
All right. That's cool. All right. Well, that's my something fun.
Awesome. So I guess we'll call it a show. All
right. Well, be safe and wash your hands, everybody. Maybe wash them again.
Yeah. Wash them and wash them again. We've been watching YouTube videos on how to wash your hands properly.
Oh, well, not a bad thing.
No, we found a couple we liked, and that's how we're doing it now.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, have a good night. Have a good week, and be safe, Eric.
All right. We'll see you, John.
Bye.